And happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Football Today. It is a mailbag show. We've got your Apple Podcast questions. We'll have your YouTube questions at the very end of the show. And we will have your emails at Dan. What is the email address?
The email is at fantasyfootballtoday.com.
No, what?
I don't know. I don't know the exact email address.
You're on the podcast and you don't know our email address?
I don't know the exact email address. I'm not emailing this email address like that. You know what I mean? Like, I got other things going on. But let me look.
Do you know your own cell phone number, Dan?
I know all my own things, Dave. I don't answer the emails. That's Adam's job.
That is great. No, all you have to do is you just put the @ sign and then you put fantasyfootballtoday.com.
No, not
oh my God. It's like you've never used email in your life.
What is it? Just give me the exact thing.
It's fantasyfootball at cbsi.com.
Yes,
the letter I.
I knew it.
Even the listeners know.
Yeah. All right. Let me start with our email of the day. There is a point to this. I promise. It's from Chris from Canada. Where's he from, Dave?
Vancouver.
I have listened to the show for over 10 years, often watching the YouTube stream as well as listening to the podcast. Last season, I felt good about my draft, but I started the season 2-5, and needless to say, I was in last place, leaving me feeling gutted. I decided to play it out, knowing I was in tough. I continued to listen to the podcast and make moves and finished the season 8-6, and I made the playoffs, going on to win my second championship in the last 3 years. Don't give up, people. Do not give up. 2-5.
I've done the same thing.
Don't do it. Don't give up. Yeah. And that's why I like it. Well,
my good friend went from last to the 6th seed 3 years ago, won the championship. So you just never know.
Beautiful.
I had a league where I was 1-5, won the championship.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's why I like the playoff system. Some people like kind of do it like a total points, most point. I don't know, kind of a best ball without playoffs. You got to have playoffs. Right? You got to give people hope. Let them keep participating. Playoffs. All right, we got a lot of news and notes. Obviously, we'll tell you about Joe Burrow and if this should change anything on drafts. Very interesting what they're saying about James Cook in Buffalo and what Calvin Ridley said, that he is him. And we'll get to that in a minute. Podcast awards. I think this is the last time I'm going to tell you. I believe voting ends on the 31st, or nominations, whatever you want to call it. So please go to podcastawards.com. I've been doing my part, tweeting every day. I don't think Dave's doing his part, but tweet, let everyone know we have a few days left to nominate us for Best Sports Podcast, Best Male Hosted Podcast, and People's Choice. It's so easy. Just go to podcastawards.com and get to voting for Fantasy Football Today. Best Male Hosted Podcast, Best Sports Podcast, and People's Choice. All right, news and notes. Dave, Joe Burrow has a calf injury. He may have a strained calf. I don't know if they've officially said what it is, but luckily it is July 28th. He suffered this injury on July 27th. Last year, he had an appendectomy on July 26th, oddly enough. But does this change anything for you? Obviously, he's going to miss some time during training camp preseason. Does this change anything for you with Chase, Higgins, Burrow?
Well, I think there's a dip that can be bought with Burrow, at least in drafts until we know like a legitimate time frame of when he'll be back. And if you're drafting him as the 6th or 7th quarterback off the board, I think you're winning. I expect him to be back. I expect him to be ready to go for week 1. As of now, they didn't say torn Achilles or anything like that. I think they would have known that by the time that we're recording this. It's been 12 plus hours since he hurt himself. Yeah, if you're drafting, maybe you're doing a best ball, you're going to see Burrow slide. You might even see Higgins slide. Take advantage, draft them, because I'm sure that he'll be, or at least I can't say I'm sure. I hope he'll be okay. And even if he's not, we've talked about it all offseason long. There's depth at the quarterback position where you can find a good enough replacement to be 3-4 fantasy points per game shy of what Burrow could be.
Yeah, I understand buying the dip. However, let's just say there's no dip. Are you still comfortable? Did you move Chase, Higgins, or Burrow, or Mixon, or whoever in any of your rankings?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So we move on to the greatest quotes from Sean Payton about everything that went wrong with the Broncos. Was that amazing, Dan Schneider?
I've never seen a coach say that much and that much negative, like inflammatory comments about another coach who's still in the NFL. He didn't retire, Nathaniel Hackett. He is over there coordinating an offense for the Jets right now.
They're going to play each other this year.
Just blasted him.
Yeah, he said it was one of the worst coaching jobs It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. Sean Payton said, everything I heard about last season, we're doing the opposite. Dan, do you have general Broncos optimism offensively?
Yeah, I've actually carried it all off season. I'm a big I've seen so many things play out in the NFL, and one of them has been the impact that a coach can make. Now, I don't know if it will definitely happen with Sean Payton, but his track record speaks for itself. I think we're already starting to hear some of the same things I heard with Brian Daboll and Joe Judge, the transfer of power there with the Giants last year, which is everything feels different in the building. He's a good teacher. I keep hearing that was obviously not the case with Hackett. It wasn't the case with Judge. It was the case with Daboll. And we saw the difference in the Giants offense. So I don't fully believe in Russell Wilson right now, but I do believe in the coach. And I think he's going to make things so easy for Russell Wilson that it's going to work out. He's going to have he's going to have so many different things going that I like, but the classic Sean Payton that we're going to see all year is those 3 receiver sets or those 2 receiver sets with Marvin Mims on the field or Jerry Jeudy, just running those basically clear out routes to clear out the middle of the field. So I think we're going to see a lot of play action, intermediate shots, throws to the running backs, easy things for the quarterback, easy to find reads.
All right. Calvin Ridley, very optimistic. He says he's Calvin Ridley, hasn't lost.
I'm him.
I don't know if he was saying I'm him in that. He said, I'm him. I'm Calvin Ridley. You think he was just saying like, I'm him?
I hate the I'm him thing. I don't really think it's that cool. I don't think it's that funny. Like everyone's like, oh my God, Calvin Ridley said I'm him. What do you mean I'm him?
Well,
of course you're him.
In the draft we did on Tuesday, Travis Etienne and Calvin Ridley went back to back in round 3, picks 31 and 32 overall, I believe. Dave, who should go first, Etienne or Ridley?
I think you can make the case for Ridley at this point, simply because of the fact that in PPR, all those catches are going to count. I'm not sure that Etienne's going to get them. And I think it's becoming increasingly clear that Etienne will not be an every down guy in this offense, and that they brought in help so that he doesn't have to be that every down guy.
For what it's worth, Etienne apparently had a great first practice in the passing game, was catching a ton of passes, all of that. I'm skeptical it will carry over to the regular season. Trevor Lawrence, to me, is just not that kind of quarterback. He throws way too aggressively into the intermediate areas of the field. You need a check down quarterback for a big reception total on the running back. You need someone who's going to get to that check down. To me, from what I saw with Lawrence last year, it was aggressive hole shots over and over and over again. And now he has Ridley to add to the mix to throw those hole shots.
The only pushback I'd give is that remember what he did in college, Dan.
He was,
Now it's been 2 years since then, and last year is evidence against it, but he leaned like crazy on screen throws and short throws at Clemson.
Yeah, and it could totally come back because he has that rapport with Ridley. I'm sorry, with Etienne. I just feel like now with another weapon in the passing game, he's going to be even more aggressive. We'll see.
All right, big injury for the Dolphins as Jalen Ramsey tore his meniscus. Could be out until December.
It's a huge problem for their defense because now they won't be able to play nearly as many exotic types of fronts as they could have with Ramsey there.
And they still have potentially a very good defense, very good secondary, potentially maybe one of the best defensive coordinators in Fangio, but that is a tough blow for the Dolphins.
That is.
Garrett Wilson hurt his ankle. Nothing appears to be serious right now. But Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb are also dealing with injuries, so the Jets are a little depleted there, but it's early. The Chargers, everything you read, they are going to throw the ball downfield more this season. Last year we were having an argument, should Mike Williams be drafted ahead of Keenan Allen? That argument does not exist this year. Does anybody think it should exist? Should Mike Williams be drafted ahead of Keenan Allen in any?
No, but I also feel like Mike Williams' ADP has been pretty depressed the entire offseason. Every draft we do, and he's sitting around at spots that I don't believe he should be sitting around at. I think overall people are kind of tired of Mike Williams, a lot of injuries, no breakout season yet, but you're still getting a big threat who's going to be a big size threat who's going to be used in the red zone with one of the best quarterbacks, one of the most aggressive coordinators in the NFL. I feel like that still has a lot of value.
Okay. Herbert last year was tied for 5th in most pass attempts of 20+ yards, air yards. And the adjusted completion rate on those throws was 37%, which was outside the top 20. So Quentin Johnson needs to be him on those deep throws. And so does Mike Williams if they're going to connect on them again this year. But he was already aggressive throwing downfield last year. You're telling me that he's going to be more aggressive this year? I love it. He needs dudes that can catch it.
So I got a buddy one of our listeners. His name is Andrew. He's been helping me out with Azer stats.
Yeah,
He's come up
nice.
with a very, very good formula.
Is he beating? Is he? I have a feeling that this is probably was a weird, risky move by you, Adam, because he might be better than you at your own game with the Azer stats. Well, we'll find out soon. But
He is.
that's not good.
He does it for everyone.
This was your claim to fame.
Well, I mean, he's put it out into a spreadsheet basically.
Oh no, there's no chance you've ever considered a spreadsheet.
No, but what he does is he gets everybody's fantasy points and their typical snap shares, and
That's
then
amazing.
He eliminates games where they play 50% or less of their typical snap shares, whatever, and he re-ranks.
How did you not think of this first?
Because I don't know how to do any of that. So anyway, Mike Williams was tied with Jerry Jeudy, both of those guys will get really Azer statted. 15.2 PPR points per game if you adjust it and take away the partial games that they played. And that's really good. That's just below Jalen Waddle, better than Devontae Smith, slightly better than Devontae Smith. That's what Jerry Jeudy and Mike Williams did last year. The year before that, Mike Williams was, I think, a top 15 wide receiver as well. He was 17th per game in 2021, 14th overall. So that's 2 years in a row, if you Azer stat it, where you've gotten a top 18 wide receiver on a per game basis in PPR. There have obviously been circumstances. He played a lot of last season without Keenan Allen. So now he's got Quentin Johnston too. But those are good kind of raw numbers. Top 18 2 years in a row if you want to remove the games that he's left early with injury.
I prefer you look at just the raw number of it over that, Adam, because if you're doing like top 18, that's not factoring that other people could have been Azer statted. But
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, everyone in the pool has been vetted for Azer stats.
That's what our guy Andrew did.
Okay, got you.
Everyone gets Azer statted. He was wide receiver 7.
Okay, I like it.
So it's only the games he played. How many snaps?
What Andrew did, I believe, was he removed any game that a player played less than 50% of his typical snap share. Okay. So these guys, most of these wide receivers are playing, more than 80% of the snaps. So probably have to play less than 45% of the snaps, and that game doesn't count. And it does jive with a lot of the stuff that I've done too, like Jerry Jeudy being at 15.2 PPR points per game. That's the same as Mike Williams. But anyway, let's move on. We get bogged down in that a little bit too much. And thanks to Andrew for helping me out on that. Arizona head coach Jonathan Gannon says he is 100% comfortable with James Conner being a bell cow.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't have a choice.
Let's talk about another running back who might be a bell cow. Here's what Minnesota's offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, said about the run game. I look at it more as the average over time. Absolutely, Dalvin Cook is a big-time playmaker, so maybe that gets filled in other areas at times. But as far as the run game, consistently producing yards and keeping us ahead of the chains, where you've got more of your call sheet available, I think is really important. And what they went on to say in the article, I think Kevin O'Connell as well, is that Dalvin Cook, yes, he was a big play generator, but they had a lot of negative and 0-yard runs last year. And the Vikings want to be more consistent. They want to just, stay ahead of the chains. You may not get the splash plays from Madison, but this article was also saying Madison can be a 3-down back. So James Conner or Alexander Madison is
I remain very, very skeptical of what Minnesota is trying to tell us, because they were one of the few teams on my list who ran a very, very lack of diversity in their run game. It was almost all zone. They had 0 plays on film that I saw where they pulled a guard or pulled anyone on that offense to run power and gap. Dalvin Cook didn't like it. He didn't run well behind it. It was the worst I've seen Dalvin Cook. It was not the system for him. Maybe it will be for Madison. To me, I think a run game that has no diversity and is just running the same thing over and over is going to lose in the long run.
But I thought you liked Madison.
I like Madison for fantasy. I don't, and I think he's going to be used in the passing game. I don't like a run game, a run blocking scheme that's running the same thing over and over, unless it's Shanahan. Even Shanahan doesn't run the same thing over and over.
He uses a bunch of different stuff. They will too. I don't think it's going to be 100%.
Yeah, year 2, hopefully they will expand that run game. But it felt like in year 1 they were just like, this is the run game. We don't really care. We're going to throw the ball 65% of the time anyway.
All right, and so Conner or Madison?
Madison for sure for me. Not even a question.
I have them back to back, both as round 4 picks. Madison over Conner.
I like Madison. This guy, like, he's on a really good offense. The Conner thing for me, he's underrated, but that offense scares me a little bit with McCoy once we get to the regular season.
James Conner was number 9 per game last year.
I know.
He had the 3rd worst record in football, and he had great numbers with
Can we
Colt
Azer
McCoy.
stat his McCoy days?
Yeah, no, he had great numbers with Colt McCoy. The last 7 weeks of the season, I think that was mostly without. I mean, it was definitely mostly. I don't know if it was all without Kyler. He was the number 5 running back per game. He was on pace for 350-ish touches, 360 touches. He was playing nearly every snap. He scored 18 or more PPR fantasy points in 5 of his last 7 games. He did score a lot of touchdowns, and Kyler only played in 1 of those. All right, let's go to just a few more news items here. Kansas City, this edition of As the Kansas City Wide Receivers Turn, Rashee Rice has gotten the most first-team reps of all wide receivers so far, according to The Athletic. And 2 Bills notes here, Dave. Gabe Davis said that he lost.
We can't pass over the Chiefs without the Justin Ross stuff, too.
Oh, we talked about it yesterday.
Oh, you got it yesterday. Okay, I missed that.
Gabe Davis said he lost a step after hurting his ankle in week 2 last year. I think it bolsters the sleeper call that we've been giving on him all year. And what about Ken Dorsey, their offensive coordinator, really speaking highly of James Cook and saying that he's an every down back? What do you make of that?
I like it. I think the Bills are leaning into Cook being their primary running back this year, and then they look at Harris and Latavius Murray as supplemental guys. The thing you got to worry about with Cook is touchdowns. How many scores is he going to get? Because I don't see him getting short yardage goal line, and I would have a hard time expecting him to have even more than like 3 or 4 of those types of touchdowns, just because Josh Allen's there. And he's going to take away. So he's got too much competition in that area of the field. But as far as playing time and touches go, would you be surprised if he had less than 13 touches per game, week in and week out? That could be 9 carries and 4 catches. Some games he'll have more. I'm telling. I get the sense that Buffalo wants to diversify their offense. He's one way they can do that, and I fully expect him to be on the field more than anybody else there.
And they did use pretty significant draft capital on him a couple years ago in 2 drafts.
Second round pick, right?
Yep. And that's significant for them, especially. They hadn't been using, they'd been using like 3s and 4s at that position. Also, when they did it, remember they were talking about how they think he can be an extension of the run game via the pass game. And that's not something they've really tapped into as much during the Josh Allen era. So maybe that just needs to come in year 2.
All right. How about Rachaad White, James Cook, Cam Akers? Rank them.
It would be Cook, Akers, White for me.
I think I've got Cook at the bottom of that list for right now. White at the top.
All right. So that would be White, Akers, Cook. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got your emails at fantasyfootballtoday.com. And we got a funny story from Dan Schneier that he'd like to share that I don't know.
Why am I supposed to know that email, by the way? Am I using that email ever? Am I receiving emails?
I don't know.
From that?
Adam has only mentioned it on the
show
every show for the last 10 years.
You know what? I'm going to collect some things that you guys have forgot, and you guys will continue to forget. And I'm going to start coming up with some good stuff each time I see one of you guys on this show. I'm going to stump you guys, okay? Good. I'm going to stump you guys with something you quote unquote should know. Hey, and then we're going to go from there.
I have a question. What do you think about this segment? So Zach Brook, one of our producers, came up with an idea. AI versus AIZER.
AI versus Azer.
It's me versus Chat GPT answering football questions.
Oh, I love that.
It's actually kind of funny.
It's a funny segment. I like that idea.
All right, we'll take a break. We got your emails, your Apple Podcast questions, your YouTube questions when we come back. All right, this question is from Mike. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for your emails. Big thank you for your Apple Podcast reviews as well. Those are very helpful. Leave us a 5-star review. You can ask a question in there too, and most of them will get read. Now, listen, guys, I'm going to give you guys the heads up. We got a lot of questions here, especially this first one. We can't spend as much time as we want, so we'll do them kind of quickly here. But Mike wants to know about your strategy in salary or auction drafts. So, yeah, almost all of my leagues are auction drafts, 12 teams, $200 cap. Would love to hear your thoughts. And, yes, I agree. I would love to spend a lot of time on this. But let me give you guys 2 to 3 minutes. And, Dan, I know you love this format. You always advocate for auctions. So give me a starting point if I'm doing one. What do I do?
Starting point for auctions for me is you got to build your own plan for the auction. So you have to, in my mind, you have to allocate how much you want to spend at each position. But what I really like to do for auctions, especially if it's not if it's an auction that's been done already with that league in that format, is use last year's results, then sort them by position, then put those results next to your rankings with those numbers, and you now have an idea of what each tier and each range of running back is going to actually go for. And you could build out mock teams via that. Now, if you don't have a year of results from a league, this is something maybe to do in year 2 if you're starting year 2. You could still probably use projected values or ranked values and then put them in an order and figure out where you can start to build your team out. So let's say you can look at it like, I want to go hero running back. You can know what you're going to have to spend on that one running back and then build out your receiver core, your tight end, your quarterback after that based on that. So if you're doing a 1 QB league, my strategy is probably in auction, especially do not pay for QB. It's okay in Snake to pay for it, I think. In auction, I think you're better off just waiting for that 12th, 13th quarterback and getting 2 of those guys in that range. And they're always going to go for like $2 or $3 at that point because nobody wants to spend on a backup quarterback they've gotten their starter. It's a little bit different than a snake when you'll see people kind of reach for that backup quarterback because it's a snake. That's one of my strategies. A few others would be bidding strategies I can give you would be never bid on the guy you want. Never nominate the guy you want. Always nominate a guy you don't want. Always nominate a buzz player if you don't want him, if he's buzzy. Always nominate. If you spend big at quarterback, start nominating quarterbacks. If you spend big at running back and only plan to go one running back, start nominating running backs immediately as you can. Also, if you play with a kicker or defense, I like the idea of nominating the kicker and the best kicker in the defense you want early. Best case, you get them for $1. Worst case, you get someone to spend $2 of their budget on that player. Either way, it's a win for you. It's a very easy win-win scenario for you. So that one I like. Let me think of any others that come to mind. Just off the top of my head. Those that's definitely a good starting point.
Good. Yep.
Okay.
Dave?
The tiers were invented as a strategy piece for auctions, meaning that you're going to put players in groups of expectations. And then when the auction begins and you start seeing, you'll see what Christian McCaffrey goes for. You'll see what Austin Eckler goes for. Now you've got an idea of what you should spend on the next tier of running backs or maybe even Bijan, and it should be cheaper than that. The first thing you have to do is tier up your players. And whether you just copy somebody else's tiers or you make your own or you adjust your own after seeing somebody else's, it's a necessity. The other thing you have to commit to is paying attention in your auction. You want to see who's got the most budget left to spend.
Yep.
And one of the things that you can do to nominate is nominate players that team might need to spend a lot of money on. For example, someone in your league still has 80% of their budget. They don't have any wide receivers. Nominate the receiver that you think is going to go for the most money so that they go and they spend their cash. You want people to burn through their cash. That's another reason why you want people to necessarily spend more on quarterback. You tend to see that happen more in auctions than you do in snake draft. So I think Dan's right about that. Look for a little bit more of a value on quarterbacks in an auction. I also love the 20-50 rule. Save 20% of your budget for the last 50% of the nominations in the auction. You will be so glad if you do that because you will find
that's a lot, right? I mean,
what do you mean that's a lot?
Just to put in perspective, if you do that, you'll have more money than most people, right?
And you will be able to pick up a couple of steals.
Yes.
Because it's human nature. People love to spend, people love to shop. And so when they're in these auctions, everybody's all hyped up and they're going to go and they're going to spend their bucks as soon as they can. If you're a little bit patient about it and you're keeping track of what everybody goes for, you will, I promise, you will come away with some steals, or at very least 3 players or 4 players that you'll get for $2 or $3 that you'll be thrilled to have on your team, even if it's on your bench.
And that right there is the beauty of the auction too. The fun part of the auction is, or it's the snake, everyone's going by a list. No one falls through the cracks. In an auction, players fall through the cracks and they get nominated later. And then as Dave's saying, if you save some of your budget, you're taking these players. You're the one who has $3 to spend on these players.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
Those are the big keys. And there'll be, we're going to do an auction live stream. There'll be auction strategy pieces on the website.
Yep.
We got you.
Starting next week.
It's the best way to build a team.
Okay. Fitz in Detroit says, hey, Nick, Amari, Deshaun, and Elijah.
Browns.
Yes. I'm not a huge schedule person, but have you noticed Nick Chubb's start to the year? Cincinnati,
yes.
Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Baltimore, bye week, San Francisco. I did notice that. All of his first 5 opponents were top 10 or among the 10 best against running backs last year. 2 of them were the 2 best against running backs last year. So it is a tough schedule to start. Does it matter? And he also gets He gets the Jets in the playoffs, but it gets easier after that. Does it matter to you?
A lot easier.
Does it matter to you for Nick Chubb's? It doesn't to me. And I'll say I went back, I looked at what he did against those opponents last year because most of them are in the AFC North, and he did just fine. And I've actually looked at that in the past with him. He runs on everyone. You can hardly ever stop Nick Chubb. And if we expand this to a bigger discussion, I really think I said this when the schedule came out. I mean, the one team that I'm really nervous about with the schedule, and I'll exclude Darren Waller from this, but it's the Giants.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it is a Barkley tiebreaker for me, in my opinion. They have such a bad schedule. You never know with these things. I've gotten burned in the past looking at schedules. Guys get injured, things don't play out the way it seems. But God, the NFC East got it rough, and the Giants might have the worst.
I know I've mentioned this like 30 times on the podcast, but it's worth mentioning again. Dave does a really good job of breaking down the schedules in a more in-depth way than the typical way. You can find that all on the site. Just type in projected strength of schedule plus Dave Richard plus CBSSports.com, CBSI.com or whatever it is. No, just
are
CBS
you kidding me?
Yeah. And what you'll see is the Giants have maybe one of the toughest schedules according to his metrics that I've ever, at least as far as I've worked at this company and edited that article, the Giants have had by far and away the hardest schedule. For all positions, by the way.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's really just a byproduct of playing the Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders twice each. And
they get the NFC West too and the AFC East.
I agree. And yes, the AFC East, I think, is going to have a tough row of defenses as well. I graded each defense and put it into the schedule, and it spit out a number. It's a lot better than how many wins and losses did the team have last year. The easier way to find that stuff, do a Google for Dave Richard, P as in Peter, SOS, PSOS Dave Richard, and it'll come right up.
There you go.
And by the way, on Nick Chubb, I do have him as the 27th easiest first 4 games. It is a tough schedule, but over the course of the year, 8th easiest. So if you don't draft Nick Chubb and he gets off to a slowish start, trade for him before October 1st.
I like it.
All right. Good luck with that, though, because I think everyone with half a brain is going to know that he's about to turn it on.
If he sucks for the first 3 or 4 weeks, I bet you can procure him from the team that drafts him.
Next question is from Jeff from up north. 10-team 2QB PPR league. I have the first pick. We get to keep 3 players from the year before, and their keeper status goes up 2 rounds each year. So he has the first pick. As of now, he's keeping Justin Herbert in the 6th, Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 8th, and Deshaun Watson in the 12th. So he's got his 2 quarterbacks. Christian McCaffrey would then be his first pick. Nothing wrong with that. Herbert, St. Brown, Watson, McCaffrey. But he could keep Calvin Ridley in the 10th or Alexander Madison in the 13th, and then take Patrick Mahomes with the first overall pick. So what do you do? Do you take Mahomes and maybe throw back? Would you rather keep Herbert in the 6th or Watson in the 12th? Let's start with that.
I would prefer Watson in the 12th over Herbert in the 6th, but I would be keeping both if it was me.
You have to keep both in a 2 QB.
Yeah, this is just not.
But you don't though, because you could keep Watson in the 12th.
You're still giving up opportunity. There's still massive opportunity cost by saying you don't, right? Because why not?
No, because if you throw back Herbert in the 6th and you don't keep him, then instead you're keeping, say, Ridley in the 10th or Madison in the 13th. So you're doing better there in terms of your keeper value, and you're drafting Mahomes.
I don't think you're doing better there in terms of your keeper.
I don't either.
Herbert as a 6th is a way better keeper than Ridley as a 10th and a 2 QB league.
Okay, sorry. I just meant you're saving a 6th.
You're doing something good. Yeah, I agree. You're getting something back.
So you're going to stick with the quarterback.
Yes, and then you take the best running back or receiver at 1 overall, whoever that is.
Okay.
Not to mention you get to keep Herbert for 2 more years.
Oh,
you're giving that up too.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
Definitely not throwing that back.
Never.
From Todd. Which of these guys have the best chance to be an RB1 or RB2 for a season or 2 over the next 5 years?
Ooh.
Rashawn Johnson. This is his order. Rashawn Johnson, Tajay Spears, Kendry Miller, Chase Brown, Tank Bigsby.
Nice list.
I'm going to go with Tajay Spears. I think the Titans drafted him to take over for Derrick Henry. I think he proved at the collegiate level, at least. I know it's a smaller school, but he proved he can carry a massive workload last year. He also proved he could do it in their Power 5 against the Power 5 team, USC, in their bowl game, when he put the team on his back with over 200 yards and touched the ball basically every snap. And that was behind a horrific Tulane offensive line where it's like accountants playing there at 225. On that offensive line, it looked like almost against USC. So to me, it's Tajay Spears. The film speaks for itself. I know there's a long-term concern about his knee, but we said 5 years. So JHI had long-term concerns about his knee. He put a RB1 season in one of those 5 years before that broke down. So I'd go with Spears.
Spears might be last on my list, Dan. Sorry.
Okay.
Roschon is who I'd pick. Coaches love him. This regime drafted him. I think that he's got that skill set that could translate well to eventually be the lead running back for Chicago and potentially an RB2 in fantasy. And then I have a little bit of a tough time with the remaining guys, but I think Bigsby is who I'd bet on next. Just because
Bigsby,
I think
Johnson, and Spears for me are in their own tier.
Right. Like I know that Kendre Miller's got a path to getting there. He could get there as soon as next year, but I'm a little bit worried about him, A, being really good, or B, staying healthy for him to actually accomplish that feat. If I had to rank it, he might be third, and then Brown would be fourth, and then Spears would be last for me.
Okay, Drew from Seattle. Dear Carnell, Ronnie, and Brandon.
Carnell.
Oh, those are Auburn running
backs. Yes, damn it. Damn it, I knew it.
Drafting third in a 14-team half PPR league. If I get Chase and then Devontae Smith, would you take Jalen Hurts in the third round or grab a running back like Najee Harris or a tight end like Andrews? Oh, I would take Hurts in a heartbeat over Najee and Andrews.
I think you have to.
This is something I never used to do, by the way. I never used to take the quarterback in this range. And now I'm actually doing it in some mocks.
Okay. You want to know a good reason to do that? This is a 14-team league.
Oh, my God.
So those quarterbacks are going to stretch a little bit thinner. You're going to have a positional advantage.
Yeah.
Look, you'll have the positional advantage with Andrews too, but I think I don't think it. I know that you'll get more points per game with Hurts.
Yeah. And
I think that advantage will help you more than Andrews would.
Agreed.
Next question is actually a Team Name Tuesday. It's from Ryan.
Not even a question.
Says, hey, Peter, Joe Cleveland, and Quagmire. Here are some team names. Levis 501.
What's that one?
Like Levi's. It's the same spelling. It's good.
Okay.
I think you need to have jeans in there at the end. Levis 501 jeans.
Jeans, I agree.
No, I don't think so. I disagree with you guys. You're wrong. My Abanikanda don't want none.
You got to say it the right way.
My Abanikanda don't want none. I like that. That's good.
I do too.
And then the last one I don't think is very good. Easy as Dell.
What about dude?
Easy as Dell.
You drafted Adele. Dude, you're getting Adele. I wonder if there's somebody's name that sounds like you're getting a.
I don't think so. Thank you, Ryan, for your team names. This is from Trevor from a city 2 hours west of Toronto.
How far is Calgary?
I was going to say Alberta. Calgary.
Alberta's a province.
Oh, that shows how much I know.
Dear Scott, Jordan, Jackson, and Myers. Oh, those are kickers, aren't they?
Scott. Yeah.
Trevor says,
nice.
No.
Well, no, Jason Myers, but I don't know who else was a kicker.
Oh, I don't know. I was just guessing because
I think you just saw the Myers and thought it was kickers.
No, it's about questions about kickers.
Okay.
Kickers score points, therefore they belong on fantasy rosters.
What? That's a question or a statement?
It's a statement.
That's a statement.
I tend to agree.
I tend to disagree.
You disagree that kickers score points? Wow, Dan.
I disagree that kickers belong on fantasy rosters.
All right, keep 2 in PPR. Kelce or Tyreek Hill in round 1. Adams in round 2. Damian Pierce in round 6. And Kamara in round 7. And he has the 10th overall pick.
I'm going to go Kelce and Pierce.
I don't mind that.
Go Kelce and Adams.
Kelce and Adams is probably the
What did he say Adams was? The 3?
2.
2.
Oh, 2. I'm definitely not going that.
All right. This is from Brandon Giordano.
He said he could keep them as long as he wants.
Yes.
That makes me lean toward Kelce and Adams.
Why would that?
Because I don't know if Damian Pierce is going to be worth a round 6 in a year or 2.
Oh, okay. Brandon is in a full PPR league. I have the 8th pick. I'm very much on the Nick Chubb bandwagon. Do you think 8th overall is too early for him in PPR?
Yeah.
It feels a little too early. I feel like the opportunity you're giving up at 8 overall. You're probably giving up, in my mind, or you're passing on a receiver who could probably get 150 targets. So I think that's a little too steep.
Right. You might be able to get Tyreek Hill there,
Yep.
Diggs there.
Cup
might be there, maybe.
Yep.
What about trading down? What if he trades down to 11?
That I like. Moving.
Do you think
back.
he gets Chubb there?
Yes.
I think so.
I don't think Chubb goes before Barkley. I don't think Chubb goes in typical drafts before some of these other backs that you'll see go ahead of him.
If this were a non-PPR league, I'd be all about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Chubb in 2020 scored 12 touchdowns in 12 games and caught 16 passes in 12 games. And he still was only RB8 per game in PPR. I do think that he played a very, very short. I mean, I think he had a partial game, but this guy cannot crack the top 5 in PPR per game, no matter what he does. He's going to have to catch more passes.
Right. And that's the thing. If he gets that opportunity, then he will beat his career high, which is 16.6 PPR points per game.
This is from Hunter in Chicago. How do you analyze keepers? In terms of, is it value? Is it best player? Do you guys look at dynasty rankings? So he's deciding between Eckler or CeeDee Lamb, and he can keep keeping them. So that's a really tough call. If it's 1 year, it's obviously Eckler, but like, who'd you guys keep, Eckler or Lamb?
I think I'm going to keep Lamb because
I do too.
What you just mentioned. We're going to see. I mean, if it doesn't happen soon, he'll be an outlier. If Eckler continues to produce at this level, he'll be an outlier because at least versus the rest of the NFL at the running back position, because he's now 28. Yeah. So then,
but he's a different case because he has such a light workload.
Yep, that's fair.
He's never had a 20 carry game in his career.
He didn't have it last year though, but he has had seasons where that have been marred by injury though. I know the recency bias is kind of with us, but it's not like he's avoided the injury bug his entire career.
Agreed, but he's also delivered unbelievable fantasy production the last 2 years, and it's hard to give that up, knowing that someone else in your league can go and draft that guy. But if you're playing the longevity game, Lamb makes all the sense in the world. You've got to figure that you're going to get great seasons out of him for at least the next 5 years.
At least 5.
You're not going to get that out of Eckler. The flip side to that is, what happens if you get Lamb and then you find the next Austin Eckler? Like, what if he drafts Bijan this year? And then who does he keep next year?
Yeah, right.
You're probably going to flip to Bijan.
You're right. Then point. if you add, you're right. If at any point you beat it with a better keeper, then this becomes moot anyway.
You could marry this with where you're drafting. And if you've got that early pick and you're sure that you're going to get somebody that you can keep long-term, then you keep Eckler and you throw Lamb back. And I know that sounds silly, but you're doing with the idea that the person that you draft early, if it's Bijan, is who you're going to keep long-term.
We don't have time for it, but I want to get a quick hot take out. I hate leagues where you can keep the best players. I just hate these kinds of leagues where you keep these first round guys and over and over again, they're not put back into the draft pool. Half the first round is just second round, third round picks. Like, that's not what keeper should be about, in my opinion. It's not fun. Keeper should be about the later mid round picks being kept, not taking every great player off the board before your draft. The draft is supposed to be the best part of fantasy. I just had to get that rant out.
All right, here we go. Next question. That's a good rant. Mike from Wappinger Falls, New York. I have no idea. Who are some backup players who can be potential keepers because they sign with a new team or the player in front of them leaves? I'm thinking players like Pollard or Madison from last year.
Let me run through this in my head. Running back's definitely where I'm going to first.
Of course, it's really the only position you can do
where this happens.
Eric Gray of the Giants.
Eric Gray. Barkley on a 1-year deal. I don't hate it.
But they could easily they could add to that position.
He would never.
Same thing with the Raiders. Like when you said that, Adam, I thought of Zamir White, but Zamir White isn't going to be
never going to get that.
I don't
honestly. Roshan Johnson's interesting if they move on from Herbert.
That's a great one.
That's who Dave mentioned. I think Tank Bigsby should be on your radar. I'm going to be the biggest Tank Bigsby fan.
There's no way ETN's not going to be on the team next year. They have to.
Just for next year, right? He's still on the rookie contract. As long as he's still on that rookie contract, he will be on the team. Correct. Just for next year. Well, Chase Brown maybe for the Bengals. Joe Mixon's got one more year max there, right? So we got Chase Brown. And by the way, if you're watching this right now, please hit the like button. It takes like two seconds, and we could really use it.
All right, let's move on here.
You want one more name?
Yeah, one more.
Crazy deep, but he's been on my radar for a while. Sean Tucker in Tampa Bay.
Oh, Sean Tucker in Tampa Bay. Yeah. I like the idea.
I think he's healthy. I think
I love his tape.
Me too.
I just don't know about the health situation.
He's practicing. And
by the way, that likes thing wasn't out of the blue.
4.4.
That I got a call in from the upper bosses. We need to get more likes on this. Hit the like button, please.
Yeah, we're not answering your YouTube questions until we get.
It takes 2 seconds.
All right. Dan apparently has a really funny story.
Oh, it's repulsive, is what it is.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, Dan's story and your Apple Podcast questions right after this. All right, Dan.
Oh God,
you're on the can.
You know what? That's very fitting for what the story I'm about to tell that I wasn't even sure if I should tell on the podcast, but I will. So remember a few months ago, we had the situation where Adam was, for some odd reason, brushing his teeth in the kitchen sink, in his home kitchen sink. Still don't really understand it. We've passed it. He still does it apparently. But the other night, hanging out with a few friends, can't give any names. People have to remain anonymous for the story because it's absolutely insane. And one friend that I'm with is a father of 2 young kids. Okay. I almost don't even want to say this. Father of 2 young kids. His bathroom upstairs is attached to the kids' room, and the toilet is on the back of the wall, and the kids' beds are on the back of the wall. So every time at night when he used to use the bathroom, I say used to for a key reason here, he would wake the kids up. So now at night, he lives in an apartment complex with 2 kids, not a house. Now at night, he uses something else to go to the bathroom so he doesn't risk waking the kids and flushing. And that something else is the kitchen sink.
Oh my God.
He told us this and everyone's reaction was the same. Like, how did you expect us to, what did you think we were going to react to that story? Why did you tell us this? How? Why? What is going on?
Oh my God. Use the shower. If you're
shower. Also not good.
Pee out your window. Piss out a window.
How about you just don't flush? Or if it's yellow,
the old road trip. Tim, you know the old road trip when your dad wouldn't pull over, so you had to pee in a Gatorade bottle. Was I the only one who had to do that? But that's an option too. In a bottle,
I never peed in a bottle.
Oh, I had to plenty of times. Ron Schneider was not down to stop on a road trip.
But you should watch Dumb and Dumber for sure. Yeah.
Wow. All right. If that doesn't get us to 100 likes, I'll just never know what will.
And then it was just it was just 30 minutes of us being appalled and asking so many questions.
Yeah, no,
crazy.
It's disturbing. All right, that's a great story, legendary story. Okay, here's an Apple Podcast question from Andy. Are we overrating Calvin Ridley? He finished 4th in points per game in 2020, but has never finished higher than 18th in any other year. With a full year off, I'm even more worried. It's actually really more like 2 years off. Right. Are we overrating Calvin Ridley? We're saying he could go in the middle of round 3, guys.
I took a step back on Calvin Ridley when I uncovered a stat about Doug Peterson's track record with wide receivers. Did I ever recite these stats on the show? Have I yet?
I mean, we talked about it. You know, he never. Yeah.
Bottom line is that the target per route run rate for wide receivers, even those that run 100+ routes in Peterson's offense, both in Jacksonville and Philadelphia, was never higher than 21.6%. So he's going to get work, but I think Peterson does like to spread the ball around.
And we saw that last year, right?
We did. There were 2 guys on the team that had over 120 targets each or 110 targets each. And then another one with 90 targets. And that doesn't include the tight end. So I've watched
that does include the tight end. Right, Ingram
was in that mix.
No, the tight end, his target per route run rate last year was almost 19%.
Okay,
so he's going to get involved, obviously.
Yeah,
Ridley looks fantastic, and someone stooged off to me that he's in unbelievable shape, and I heard that before training camp started, and that was part of the reason why I was very excited about him. Is there a path for him to get north of 130 targets and just absolutely dominate? I'm not sure that there's such a great path to that.
Timeout. Give me the stat again in Philadelphia and what was it?
From 2016 to 2020, And in Jacksonville last year, these are all Doug Peterson years where he's the head coach. No wide receiver with 100+ routes run had more than a 21.6% target per route run rate.
Right. But Christian Kirk did have that, and Zay Jones was at 21.2%. So
okay.
I just think like when Alshon Jeffrey is your best wide receiver, no offense to him, he was good. He's not gonna. The fact that Christian Kirk got to 21.8% or 21.5 or 6%, I think that bodes well for Calvin Ridley, personally.
Do you think he can exceed that?
Yeah,
to like 25%.
So this is I don't really know target per route run rates that well. So can he have a 25% target share? Would be my question. Kirk's was at 23.2% last year. I definitely think Calvin Ridley can have a 25% target share.
Okay. And that gets you close. If they're throwing the ball 600 times, that gets you close to 140. And that would be great.
That's 150, right? If they're throwing,
if it's 25%, it's 150.
Yeah.
I think until we see him move into the range where Cortland Sutton was being drafted last year. Remember, at the end of it, we were like but some people were pushing him all the way up to mid-round 2. Once we get to that point, I think then he can be overrated. I didn't mean that as a shot or anything. I just think like a lot of people like. No, I know it came out that way. We've all had our misses and our makes, but like there's always going to be that one guy who gets pushed up is my point. It's not like a fault of anyone. It's like you get to a point of that mid-second round where it's like, well, that tier drop happens at running back and receiver, and you need to push someone into that mix. When he gets pushed into that mix, I think then he'll be overrated. But right now you're still seeing mid-round 3, early round 3. And
I like early round 4.
Oh, okay.
If that means late round 3 on Calvin Ridley in full PPR, then I'm not going to slam you for it. But top 24, I'm not even close to that.
Okay.
Ridley.
Just so you know, Calvin Ridley at his peak is a very good yards per target guy.
Yes.
So he can compensate. Maybe less so in PPR, maybe if he doesn't get the targets. But he can compensate because he's a big play guy, getting fewer targets. Even if he's at 100, I think if he's at 130 targets, I still think he can give you round 3 value.
Me too.
All right. Gronk 324 says, I've got the 101 in a 10-team league. Is it crazy to think about taking Travis Kelce at 101 in a 10-team league?
We've talked about this a lot I feel like on the pod, but I think you and I had him have the same opinion of this, right? We don't think it's crazy. Or is that just me?
No,
I don't think it's crazy.
I think it's less crazy in a 10-team league because you can make it up for it at the other positions. But he is so good and so valuable, but he is also going to score, just in terms of raw points, so many fewer points than Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. It's just, I had him at number 1 in January when I did my top 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I have him as like 6 now.
I also take it back. I actually like him a lot more in 12 and 14 team leagues. I need the advantage at the tight end position to be even greater for it to be worth value.
It's another way to look at it. Dave, you're taking Kelce where?
7th overall PPR.
This is Dan from Nutley.
Wow, he's close by. I'm Dan from Morristown.
All right.
In West Orange. There we go.
Hey, Devin, Brian, Charles, and Lance.
Devin, Brian, Trey Lance.
Oh, these are Bears.
Those are first names.
Bears Hall of Famer, like Bears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears.
They were big time Bears on their Super Bowl 41 team.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, I think I'm starting a 16-team redraft PPR league, and I'm looking for roster suggestions. I have no problem getting rid of DST and kicker, but how many running backs, wide receivers, and flexes should there be in a 16-team PPR league? P.S. Cole Kmet will finish top 5. I could not believe the disrespect he received in the tight end tiers episode.
I could not believe the contract he received, so we're both on the same page there. Things we can't believe.
Okay, give me a roster breakdown for a 16-team league. I don't play in any of those, so
I haven't done a 16 in a while.
You could do the exact same one that we suggested earlier this week. You can pick. I wouldn't go Superflex. 1 quarterback is fine. That's going to make it challenging for everybody. 1 tight end is fine. 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, and then you can decide between 1 or 2 flexes.
Yeah.
And, how deep do you want people to get into it in a 16-team league? That second flex is going to be pretty dicey from week in and week out.
Oh, yeah. Especially once buys and injuries hit.
Okay.
Cole Kmet's not going to finish as a top 5 tight end. Get out of here.
You never know.
That contract's not
every year we get surprised top 5 tight ends.
This is not the show for it, but it is crazy to think about how Cole Kmet could get $50 million and we can't get a running back long-term deal. It is interesting we've gotten to that point in the NFL.
All right, this is Peyton starting a dynasty league this year. 10-team veteran-only draft. It is Superflex. No kickers or DSTs. Every team must still draft a kicker, and the order of the kickers drafted will determine the order of the rookie draft.
Ooh.
When should I draft my kicker?
That's pretty
So
cool.
this is
It is Superflex.
So you're thinking about if you were doing a startup, where would Bijan go?
I'll tell you, I'm doing a startup like the Baked Burgers Dynasty League that everybody at CBS except for Dave is in. Bijan went, I think, 7th. It is Superflex. So the first 5 picks were quarterbacks. Then it was Jefferson. Then it was Bijan.
That's the range. If not, maybe even a smidge higher.
Wait, can you explain it one more time to me, Adam, so I can follow it?
Yeah,
when you draft your kicker,
okay.
The order in which you draft your kicker is the order that you will draft in the rookie draft.
Okay, and we're talking dynasty, correct?
Yeah, it's a dynasty startup.
Okay. First Superflex or regular?
Superflex. First person to take a kicker is getting Bijan.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
I'd probably take him in the second. I'd probably take my kicker in the second round.
Yeah.
If I were the first one.
Right. After the first one goes, I'm waiting forever.
I don't know if
not forever. I can't wait forever. But
yeah.
I'm more of like, I'll wait for a little run to go. Like so
I don't want to be the person that drafts a kicker 8th or later.
I also definitely don't want to be the person that drafts a kicker 2nd. If I don't get Bijan, I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs. Actually, Jahmyr Gibbs I like.
Well,
fine. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs and I just took Jahmyr Gibbs in the Baked Burger League. I took him. What did I take him? Third round. So yeah, after Gibbs though, that's when I probably.
Yeah, but it's Superflex, so you could take Richardson.
But I don't need. Yeah, you're right. Bryce Young and Richardson.
Yeah.
Bryce Young. Yeah. All right, it's interesting. If you're going to be the first one, I think second round is a good time to do it.
A good thing to do before the draft is look at a Superflex startup mock that does have rookies in it. You'll see where Bijan, Richardson, Gibbs, all the receivers go. And then you'll have an idea of, okay, if I take a kicker at this spot, this is the type of player I can get.
By the way, can I just say this is an incredible idea.
I love it. I love that.
It's incredibly creative. This is what fantasy needs. Ideas like this. Great job by you.
All right, let's see how you feel about this idea from John in K-Town. A week 18 idea. So I'm guessing the premise of this is that week 18 and week 17 is your championship, and the winner and the runner-up split the pot in the league.
Mm-hmm.
John says, I propose that if the loser of the championship game wants to challenge the winner of the championship game to a winner-take-all game in week 18, the winner can accept or decline the challenge. If the week 17 winner accepts the challenge, we play through week 18 and we combine the scores from week 17 and 18, and the winner takes all. If so, the loser of the final week 18 game would forfeit their winnings to the ultimate champion. If the winner of the week 17 championship game declines the offer, that's the end of the season. And that's it. Everyone goes home. This idea, we are not going to do it, but I think it's something fun to add to it.
This is so good too. This is the back-to-back great ideas. This is amazing. As the winner, you have the chance. You want to push your chips all in the middle and gamble that you can win again. And you have the lead because you're combining scores, but it's fantasy. Anything could happen. It's week 18. There's bye weeks. It would be so fun if the winner got cocky, pushed the chips in the middle, played it out, and ended up losing it.
This is almost the end of rounders where Mikey wins enough to get his money back or get Edward Norton's money back, and then Teddy KGB talks him into playing a little bit longer.
Yep.
All right, guys.
That's awesome.
But here's the thing: like, if the winner blows out the loser, why would he challenge? He's just going to take his money and go home.
No, he's not going to. It has to be close,
right?
Yeah.
And I think it would be rare for the winner to accept the challenge. If everybody in the league is for it, then add it. Why not?
I'm debating bringing this to my league.
There's no downside.
This is so good.
This is from Gaber Hole. In a 1QB 10-team dynasty home league, I've got Kelce and Pitts. It's not tight end premium, and I've got other good players for flex. What do I do with Pitts if I'm in win now mode?
You keep him.
I don't. Well, yeah, but he's saying
him.
Well, in the flex,
he's got Kelce.
He's got Kelce.
He can flex him.
It's a weird spot because you're in win now mode and you have Kelce. Obviously, otherwise I would be suggesting to trade Kelce, but your best option here is to either flex Pitts if he's productive or put him on your bench. Trading Pitts right now in Dynasty is, in my opinion, the worst possible decision you can make in Dynasty. The one player that I think is the worst possible player to trade right now in Dynasty is Kyle Pitts. I felt this way for over a year. I will continue to feel this way. You're trading him at his absolute lowest. That is never good for you.
What if he's offered the 3rd overall pick in a rookie draft for Pitts? Is that enough?
3rd overall pick in next year's draft?
No, this year's.
Oh, this year's current draft.
Is that enough?
I would personally never do that.
I don't think I would either. What if it's the 2nd pick?
That's when you can start to consider.
Me
Gibbs,
too.
You can consider it. That's fair.
Yeah, because Gibbs is probably going to help you
Now,
more.
me personally, I still wouldn't do it because I think Pitts will get to a point in his career where he'll be a massive advantage at the tight end position. And I'm not so sure Gibbs will be that for that long. Running backs don't have huge shelf life. He's 190 pounds, so his should be even shorter than most running backs. But for now, you're trying to win now. Gibbs is going to help you win now. And so you have to factor that in as well. He's going to help you win now faster than Pitts will.
Okay, guys, let's move on here. We got a few more. From how are we doing on likes, by the way, Schaefer? We need 100 before we get to YouTube questions.
Where we at? That story I said didn't get us to 100 likes. I mean,
all right, come on. JD
true
chat
story, by the way,
needs keeper help. Keep 2 of the following players, 10-team PPR league. Breece Hall in the 3rd, Josh Jacobs in the 5th, Jalen Hurts in the 6th, Devontae Smith in the 10th,
Ooh,
Chris Olave in the 11th.
Ooh.
Olave.
Yeah.
Jacobs.
Keep 2.
Oh, Olave Jacobs.
I'm keeping the receivers.
I can do that too. I'm fine with that too. Jacobs in the 5th feels pretty nice.
From Core, what keeper rules would you implement for a first-year keeper league?
I love what we do in my keeper league. When you draft a player and you want to keep them, you can keep up to 3 players, but it costs you a draft pick 2 rounds higher than where you kept him the year prior. And once that player gets to a 1st or 2nd round pick, he cannot be kept the following year.
That sounds fine to me. I don't play in any non-auction keeper leagues, so that sounds good to me.
From Bridget, do I keep Cooper Kupp in the 4th round, Devontae Smith in the 8th round?
Kupp.
There's also Lockett in the 9th. Yeah,
Kupp.
So just keep it with those 2.
Kupp for me for sure.
Especially if it's for 1 year. You can think about it a little bit if it's Devontae Smith for an 8th round pick for multiple years,
right?
But Kupp in round 4 is easy.
All right, a couple more questions. John Matthew Stafford is in a Superflex. Yeah, Superflex 6-point per passing touchdown auction league with keepers. I essentially have Mahomes for free. If you could pair him with any other quarterback, who would you choose?
Jalen Hurts.
Well, but I guess the question is really, you have Mahomes? Do you pay up for Hurts?
If I have a free Mahomes, which I don't even know how he has, but sounds like broken keeper rules because Mahomes entered the league in 2017. But I'll let you guys sort that out yourselves. But if I have Mahomes for free somehow in 2023, I would pay up for quarterback. I actually want to try this year in one of my auction leagues. I play in a bunch of 2 QB leagues. I want to try to go the 2 elite quarterback route and see, and it'll be over 50% of my budget. I'll have almost nothing left. I'll have to punt running back for sure. Probably punt most of receiver, but I want to see where it goes.
All right, this is from The Ego, formerly known as Joel. 14-team half PPR league. The commissioner changed it to a 14-round draft instead of a 15-round draft. Does that change anything for you?
No.
Not really.
Personally, no.
I mean, I think it might make me less likely to take a backup quarterback. Okay. I think it's a little harder to do a handcuff when you have 1 fewer round, so you got to keep that in mind.
Shorter bench in the season.
I'm not going to go into the draft. Yeah, that's a good point, Dan. I mean, it's going to help the waiver wire. I'm not going to go into the draft changing anything, but there you go. Now, listen, before we get to your YouTube comments, which we will, time for a segment called Dan is Holding Up the Draft, which is a little unfair.
That is so unfair. I just got put on the clock during this podcast. You want me to just go to another window and
take a pick, baby? Let's see what you got. Let's see Dan's team.
Oh, you want me to make a pick right now? No, that's not. There's no shot of making a pick right now on air.
Come on, you had the 2nd overall pick.
I have to look through my whole thing, Adam. I have to see through who. I don't know the last 10 picks. You think I'm just going to rush an incredibly important pick like this?
For a fantasy analyst to make a draft pick?
I mean, I have an early lean anyway, but I haven't looked through. I have one guy left on my queue, but he's been on my queue for a while now, and I don't. Let me take a look. This isn't happening right now.
Which league is this in?
This
Fake
is the
Burger
Dynasty
Dynasty.
League. So London's been picked. I have to go through my rankings, my Dynasty rankings, which I'm doing now. This isn't good on air stuff. Well,
I'll draft for you.
Too much pressure. Too much pressure.
Who would you take, Adam? Who's
Let's hear who Adam would take, because that's certainly not going to
right.
impact my opinion.
He's got Josh Allen.
Oh, you froze.
What? I froze?
Oh, maybe I froze. Sorry.
Yeah, you froze. He's
It
got
was Adam. Adam froze.
Josh Allen,
you.
Breece Hall, and Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not picking again for a very long time.
No, no,
This
and you
is
have
the
no
first pick.
receiver?
I have 2 picks in next.
That's not true. He's got 2 picks. I would take Christian Watson here. Personally,
He's definitely on my short list. Looking at
there's
my
also
rankings right
Devontae Adams, Jerry Jeudy, Ken Walker. He's not going to take Ken Walker. He's got 2 young running backs. DK Metcalf. So I think in your next pick, you're going to come away probably with 2 of Adams, Jeudy, Watson, and Metcalf.
I highly doubt that. Quarterback is almost guaranteed to be taken.
Oh, I forgot. You need your super flex. That's right.
Who's the best quarterback left?
You got to take Daniel Jones, bro.
Of course. I mean, he's the only one left on my queue. He's most likely going to be the pick, but I need to just make sure I don't want to take Watson or something instead.
Well,
How many more picks until your next pick?
Only a few picks.
You think Jones can slide?
Who's
Yes,
How many teams have 2 quarterbacks?
Why will he?
The guy drafting in between you
has
is
2 QBs
as Dak and Mahomes. So.
Oh, I'm definitely not taking Jones here. Then
Nice.
I'm definitely not making this pick on air, because I'm going to do every running back and receiver in depth.
All right, then let's get to our. By the way, he's taking Daniel Jones over like Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, older guys
In a dynasty league. Yeah,
I get it.
Okay, let's get our YouTube questions here. Yeah, I was asking Dan to make a pick, and Don said it's not like it's Dan's job or anything.
Don. Yeah, it is my job, and that's why I want to take it seriously and not just make a pick all willy-nilly in a dynasty league. Okay, Don?
This is from Zed. Am I the only person left on the planet that thinks a rookie running back should not be drafted in the first round of redraft?
Yes, you are, Zed.
It depends on the year.
Yeah, right. I mean, Bijan Robinson should definitely be drafted in the first round.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, Zeke, Barkley, those guys were terrific picks in the first round.
Edgerrin James.
I think the last 6 running backs that were drafted in the top 10 have finished as top 10 fantasy running backs.
But was Clyde? Did Clyde ever move up in there?
Top 10
in
the NFL draft.
Oh, in the NFL.
Clyde was the last pick.
Oh, in the NFL draft. Was Fournette the first year?
Yeah, Fournette I think made it.
Okay.
The last one, here's a funny fact. The last one who didn't was Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, wow. He was like
much.
in a bit role that year with Jonathan Stewart. I remember that.
Jonathan Stewart taking work away from CMC.
Yeah.
Sounds really dumb now.
And then Dave Gettleman signed him to take work away potentially from Saquon Barkley. He said, I watched the film. He hasn't lost a step. And then,
that's your Dave Gettleman impersonation?
I have a bad Dave Gettleman impersonation, but it's been used on the podcast once. It's not good.
No, I think that McCaffrey season is the thing that scares me a little bit about Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
Because McCaffrey is one of the few first-round running backs in the last 7 years. There have only been, I think, 2 running backs drafted in the first round of the NFL draft that didn't average more than 15 touches per game, and McCaffrey was one of them. The other was Rashad Penny. But McCaffrey didn't do it because he was behind Jonathan Stewart, and that is the most similar situation to Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. However, if you had drafted McCaffrey late in the 3rd round, it would have worked out for you that rookie year because he had like 8 catches. No, we don't really have a lot of questions here. Okay. What is the deal with top QBs yet again being ranked so low? And in Justin's opinion, so low is after the top 20 for Mahomes, Allen, and Hurts.
That's funny because I feel like they're ranked higher than I ever remembered them. 22, 21, 24 in 1 QB leagues, Justin. That to me is pretty high. And this is the first time I think it's justified.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that's pretty high. I don't know where Justin would take them. Maybe you can respond. Okay, I'll look for your response.
I think, Justin, to answer what the deal is this. A lot of us who play fantasy believe that in 1 quarterback leagues with only 12 starting on a weekly basis in your fantasy leagues, if you're in a 12-team league, or 10 if you're in a 10-team league, which makes the point even more pronounced, you have 32 to choose from. There are matchups against really bad defenses sometimes. with quarterbacks ranked 16 through 20 who will be on your waiver wire in these 1 QB leagues that can produce just as well as some of these guys you might use a first-round pick on. Probably not the first-round pick guys, but maybe if you push everyone up and now the third-round pick guys, the second-round pick guys, the fourth-round pick, the fifth-round pick guys, if we were to push every quarterback up, you're getting too much out of the replacement value guys who are on your wire in these 12 and 10 team leagues where you only start 1 QB. It's all about that. It's just simply a math thing in my mind.
All right. He says he would take them in the first round. Connor says you had to pick one middle round wide receiver to break out. Who would it be?
Middle round.
I'm thinking round 4 through 6.
That means round 4 through 6. Okay.
For me, anyway. And that's Jerry Jeudy for me. Or
definitely not Jerry
Judy's
Jeudy
on my
me.
Breakout list.
It's not going to be Watson for me.
Watson and London are in that range.
Watson and London are in there.
Not going to be
Pickens
London.
is in there.
Not going to be Pickens.
Pickens is later to me anyway. But
is Amari Cooper going in that range? I think he is.
I'm not saying that.
I feel like he is, right?
Hold on. I'm not saying
I'm definitely picking Cooper.
Wait, can you just wait?
Sorry.
If you, I'm not saying that I would take Jeudy over Cooper. I'm pretty sure I would take Cooper, but I cannot call Cooper a breakout.
I think Cooper can be a breakout. Why can't he be?
You think he's going to put up career best numbers?
I think he can definitely put up career best numbers with Deshaun
So
Watson.
that would be something along the lines of like 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. I like him a lot.
Okay.
I like him a lot.
2 more questions here.
I don't know if I see it, but okay.
I definitely, I guess you could say, do you see it with Jeudy?
Yeah, because he's never had a 1,000-yard season. I think he totaled 1,000 yards last year. But in this offense with Sean Payton, knowing how Payton deploys his receivers, I think the only thing stopping Jeudy is health.
Dave, what is your tight end whisperer pick?
Oh,
I don't know if I've got one that I feel comfortable saying yet. It's kind of been Trey McBride, but it sounds like Zach Ertz actually has a chance to play.
Yeah.
And then stay with Arizona, which is just, it kind of blows my mind. Others who are on the list, Sam Laporta, even if it's just as a, temporary potential starter to the beginning of the season. Gesicki is absolutely one of them. Jake Ferguson in Dallas.
Gesicki, that just blows my mind.
I know, but it's just a total situation change for him with an offensive coordinator that recruited him out of high school to play at Penn State.
They still have Hunter Henry. I mean,
but Henry's going to be more of like that short range guy, and Gesicki's going to be a field stretcher. Patriots like having that type of player in their offense. And he costs you nothing. You could literally take your kicker before Gesicki if you had to.
All right, keeper question. Kelce in the 2nd, Madison in the 10th, Christian Watson in the 14th.
Wow.
Watson. Actually, I like them all to some extent. I'm going to go Watson. How do you
pass up Kelce in round 2?
I know. Watson in round 14 is nice, though. In these types of leagues, round 14 in a keeper league, it's going to be like absolutely barren.
Okay. Keep 2 from Ty.
No penalty.
AJ Brown.
I love the picture.
I know the picture really threw me off. AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Hurts.
No round. Seems like a 1 QB league. I will go Lamb for sure, obviously. And
Lamb and AJ for me.
Probably Lamb and Amon-Ra for me, I think.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Long show today. I appreciate you hanging out with us on this Friday. Go get your weekend on. Avoid the kitchen sink at any of Dan's friends' houses.
One friend. I use the term friend loosely. No, just kidding.
I guess
it was appalling. It was repulsive. It was repalling. It led to at least an hour-long discussion and ribbing, and people are stunned.
No. Okay. I don't even know what to say. I was
like, but I'm running the water the whole time. Like, I don't think that makes it better.
He didn't tell you that while you were like rinsing lettuce in the sink or something.
We weren't at his house, thankfully. I was not going at his apartment.
Yeah. Set a perimeter. Don't go within 6 feet of his sink.
Okay. All right. See you later, everybody. Have a great weekend.